When this guy was out surfing, this baby sea lion waddled up to him as he was taking a break, staring at him like he had never seen a human before. The guy started introducing himself to it.
Oye tú, ¿qué te pasa?
And moments later, the baby replied with one of the most adorable sounds I've ever heard in my life. While this guy was out hiking, he started to hear the deep sound of ice cracking behind him, which is when he turned around and saw that an avalanche had started far in the distance. Little did he know though, the avalanche was about to come a whole lot closer, causing for one of the most insane things I think I've ever seen in my entire life. It's important to note that the guy and his group ended up walking away just fine, with no real injuries besides a few bumps and bruises. At the end of this video, you'll see where he hid while this crazy event took place. Check it out.
Oh dear God. So the avalanche happened over here. I dived down into this hole and managed to be okay. Wow.
After only 8 minutes into this soccer game, this dog appeared out of nowhere, racing onto the field to try and play with the soccer ball, thinking that it was a toy. The dog held onto the ball with everything that it had, with his tail wagging as he refused to drop it. They ended up needing to carry him off of the field, and after he finally dropped the ball, you can see the dog thinking, wait, where are we going? And why aren't we playing? In my opinion, the dog got the ball fair and square, making him the MVP of the game. 13 years after this kindergarten teacher retired, this is the moment that her last class of kids from over a decade ago decided to surprise her on their high school graduation day.
Liz! Hi! Oh my God! Oh my God!
At first, she couldn't believe her eyes, obviously in shock seeing how grown up they all were, before jumping up and giving them all a huge hug.
Oh my God! You're all just gorgeous!
Me too?
This group of students described her as one of a kind, obviously leaving a large enough impact to want to surprise her over 10 years later before walking across the graduation stage. Definitely a super heartwarming moment for everybody involved. At this lady's eyelash salon, her adorable cat named Kitty has a unique job that keeps guests coming back. As the lady does the eyelashes, the cat provides complimentary massages to her customers, knowing that those biscuits aren't going to make themselves. The look on the cat's face is almost like she's thinking, I don't get paid enough for this. But with customer satisfaction being their top priority, this cat is sure doing a great job. While this dad was running around laughing with his kid in the stroller, it was obvious that both of them were having a great time. But when they turned the corner and the baby saw his mother, he looked at her with the most dramatic side eye ever, with a face that definitely said, oh, it's you. It's pretty clear that in this moment, this kid definitely had a favorite parent. After getting home from a super long day at the park, they found their dog like this, fast asleep in the most uncomfortable position ever. He even stayed like this until his owners woke him up, completely exhausted from the great day that he just had. This man has a super unique talent where he can turn a water lily into a beautiful necklace in only a few seconds. You'll never believe what happens at the end though. After making the necklace out of what seemed like nothing, he turns his attention to the piece at the bottom and does something super magical to finish it all off.
Amazing.
This mama duck and her ducklings were getting a bit too close to the edge of the water, obviously a bit curious what was on the other side. As the mama pushed herself away to safety, one of her babies ended up getting taken by the water and falling over the edge. Thankfully, this was only a few feet high, so even though the duckling was totally fine, it was now separated from the group and had no way of getting back up. The mom immediately recognized this and could be seen trying to figure out what to do next. After a few moments of thinking, the mom ended up jumping over the edge to try and rescue her baby, which triggered all of the ducklings to go for it and jump as well. Thankfully, they all made it down just fine, and even though this was definitely a bit chaotic, they all ended up completely unharmed and back together as a family. After these guys stumbled upon an abandoned coal mine shaft, they immediately had the urge to find a big rock and drop it down the hole just to see what happens. Based on the satisfying sound that it makes when it lands, I wouldn't be surprised if they just woke up a monster from its 1,000-year nap. When this guy was out walking his dog, he looked up in the sky and saw the craziest thing.
Oh my God, what am I seeing?
He watched it travel across the entire sky in disbelief as it continued to break off into more and more pieces, lighting up the night sky as it plummeted towards Earth. He initially thought that it was some kind of meteor exploding, but it turns out that it was actually a rocket breaking apart as it re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. If you saw this flying towards Earth, what would you think it was? Let me know in the comments. When this guy was looking for his cat named Priscilla, he ended up bringing her newborn kitten out on the back deck to see if they could spot her. The kitten let out a few meows, and only seconds later, the mama cat came bolting out of what seemed like thin air, racing back to the house to comfort her baby like the true caregiver that she is.
You're not for the streets, Priscilla.
Every night as the sun starts to go down, this dog makes her way to their back deck where she overlooks one of the most stunning views I think I've ever seen in my life.
My giant of a dog loves to watch sunsets. Every night, this is where she is. I don't blame her.
She does this nearly every single night, and sometimes even brings a friend over so they can enjoy the magical view together. Not a bad way to finish off an evening. Every time their cat is ready to come inside, it does this hilarious flying jump move, breaking through their screen door face first. This always leaves their dog confused as ever, staring up at his human, wondering what the heck just happened. As this dog was busy fluffing his pillow before bed, he ended up hugging it a bit too close before accidentally rolling off the bed with all four paws up in the air.
Pedro, no!
Thankfully, he did end up landing on his other bed completely unharmed, but was visibly embarrassed as his human tried to check if he was alright, looking back at her as if he was saying, "I don't want to talk about it." Every time this guy gets off of his trampoline, he briefly touches the metal rail, knowing that he might get a small shock. His dog started to pick up on this, which quickly turned into this adorable routine where the pup will tap his paw against the metal as well, cautiously checking for shocks as he gets off, just like his human does. When this dog was out playing and was ready to come back inside, he jumped up at the door and accidentally rang their own doorbell with his paw, becoming visibly confused, thinking somebody was at the door. A few moments later, his instinct kicked in and he started barking to scare them off, even though it was just himself. Every time they bring their dog to this field, she'll quickly run into the tall grass before staring back at her owners, waiting for the go-ahead. Moments later, she starts flying around the field, jumping as high as she can, just like a kangaroo, glancing back at them every so often as she bounces around, having the time of her life. When this lady was playing peekaboo with her parrot named Roy, she decided to trick him and disappear, causing the parrot to have one of the best reactions ever. After a fresh snowfall, they were trying to get their husky named Aspen to come inside so they could leave for the day, but every time they got her up to the stairs, she would leap off the side of the deck with the most elegant jump ever, floating through the air back into their yard.
Aspen, don't do it.
She continued to do this over and over, having the time of her life playing in the snow and avoiding having to come back inside at all costs.
No.
After walking into their living room, they thought that a porcupine had gotten inside and was walking on the couch until they realized that it was actually just their dog. It had been rolling around on the fabric, getting so full of static and electricity that it ended up looking like they just caught themselves a rare Pokemon. Every time these people get a fresh dumping of snow, two of their cats immediately want to go outside to check it out, but the third cat is always a bit hesitant. She'll often wait until the first two have left some tracks before making sure to only step in the existing paw prints, almost like she's pretending that the floor is lava. She'll continue to crisscross her way down to the yard, being extremely precise with her steps, finally making her way down in the most satisfying way ever. After putting a pond in their backyard, these people got a notification on their phone saying that the security cameras picked up some movement, so they pulled the footage and found this. A large bear decided to take a dip, treating the pond as if it was his own private jacuzzi. He can be seen completely kicked back with his legs up in the air, playing with the floating objects and fully enjoying his impromptu day at the spa. When this guy heard something in his backyard at 5 in the morning, he looked out and saw the craziest thing. A family of bears playing on his putting green, having the time of their lives just like they were kids playing at a playground. They can be seen picking up and rolling around the golf balls, and even pulling the flagpoles back and launching them like a spring, before the mama bear does the most adorable flop onto her back. Every time their humans get home from the grocery store, one of their dogs named Guster bolts outside to do the most important job of the day, help bring the grocery bags inside.
Such a good helper. Thank you.
After dropping the first bag at the door, he bolts back for a second bag as the other dog supervises, before doing the most adorable little tippy-tappies with his feet as he waddles back to the front door, extremely proud of the good work that he's doing.
Wow, that's a heavy sack.
Whenever this woman has steak for dinner, one of her dogs will come over and politely sit waiting for a piece until her other dog appears out of nowhere, sitting on the ground like this.
Do you deserve steak? You don't deserve steak.
She'll continue to sit just like a human with her legs out in front of her, trying to act as cute as possible so that her owner gives in. Whenever it's time for her pets to have dinner, this lady stands on her front step and calls them in by name, but you'll never believe who ends up jumping around the corner.
Howie.
That's right, this baby cow is named Cowie and comes running at the sound of her voice every single time, letting out the most adorable moo sound as she trots over to be with her person. After setting up this rocker for their first baby that's on the way, they left the room for only a minute, coming back to find their cat completely kicked back in it, looking like a total villain planning to take over the house. Apparently their cat has been doing this with all of the new baby stuff, completely thinking that they are bringing it all home just for him. Whenever they take their parrot in the car with them, he immediately flies to the mask that's hanging off of the mirror, kicking back and letting the sun shine on his face as they drive. Apparently he stays like this for the entire ride, definitely thinking that he found the best seat in the entire car. After she noticed her cat eyeing something in the bushes, she watched as he lined up to get ready to attack, which is when the cat did this. After this lazy attack, he even stuck his tail up in the air, almost like he was giving a thumbs up to say, "It's all right, I'm okay."